So, I'm just going to give a few briefings on why it's hard for people to get ahead, mostly in poor neighborhoods already. So, even though it may happen in, other areas because poor exists everywhere, no matter if you're in the city or in the suburb. But I wanted to start with a few things, such as car dealers. Now it's like this $1 billion business to sell poor people cars because they have no credit. They're charging them 24% with over 100,000 miles. And people want the car because a lot of them can't do no better, and a lot of them just don't think about how better they can do. Okay, but this is a very serious thing. And it just goes to show you how so many different people contribute to keeping people poor. So when I say the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, it's very, very true. And that's a big thing because people want to have something. They want to drive a nice and decent car. And they get charged the most. And they pay the most. And they get the least. It's kind of like a slave contract, which is not fair. If you're going to get a car, you're going to buy a car for $3,000. The car dealer, they want to charge you $7,000, $8,000. And they want to finance you and put extra money on top of that, which is sad because once the car breaks down, you're still responsible. So it still keeps you in a poor state of mind. Okay, because now you're not able to maybe go get a different car when you really realize that these people were really crooks. And it's crooks with big names, too. I'm not going to name a few, but it is. The next subject is food stamps and how they get abused. And so, for half of the value, family abusing other family members with their food stamps, giving them as least as possible, and getting so much more out of it. People buy steak, lobster, shrimp, oxtails, the most expensive food, lamb, whatever you can name, whatever they eat. And it's not like people shouldn't. But if you poor, according to when you went down there and applied and you was able to get these things, you wasn't thinking about lobster, steak, and shrimp. Because if you was, you really don't need no food stamps. You need to work hard as you can. Just like me and other people who wish we just got a little bit of food stamps just to make ends meet. But we have to make our own ends meet. And then we watch other people who receive food stamps from the government and they spend them loosely. They buy cigarettes. They buy alcohol. They buy all of them things because they're so easy for people to cash in. So that's very hard. And so therefore nobody should be hungry. No children should be hungry. Because their parents are receiving a good amount of money. The amount that the government gives families for food stamps, I can have the same amount in my family. And I don't spend that much a month on food stamps. On food, rather, excuse me. So it's kind of hard just looking at the state of mind of when people think that they're okay. They tend to abuse certain things like that instead of making things last. A lot of people, they shop month to month. And when that last day of the month comes about, they have no food. If the government shut down tomorrow, they can't eat, which is sad because it's a state of mind. The next thing I wanted to talk about was scratch-offs and lotto, and how they say how lotto was put out for poor people so poor people can have hope. People work and they play lotto hoping that they make it, trying to make $1 out of 15 cents every day. And that's how the government is able to make so much money, because you have people who hope and pray that that one ticket is their ticket that set them straight, where they don't have to worry about different things anymore. So it's just all about having hope, hoping that you will win, praying that you will win, so you can one day get ahead. But that only happened once in a blue moon. That's why it's so hard for people to get ahead. Next subject I wanted to touch on was Rent-A-Center. And these different places that's somewhat like them too. They do the same thing as the car dealers do. Do you all really think that people who even had a little money, or people who work hard and think also, not just that you work, who think about what you're doing instead of trying to keep up with the Joneses, so they say. This furniture was strictly put in these stores where these people make millions of dollars for poor people. What person you know with money is going to go somewhere and pay 3 and 4 times the amount? That don't even sound right. But people do. And there's people that work also. But they have a poor mentality. And I hate to say that, but that's just the facts of it. They have a very poor mentality because they would rather have something in their house today and pay 3 times the amount than to put something on layaway. And if you pay that, you can pay the same amount on your layaway. Which one you think could be done faster? You paying off your layaway. Because by the time you're done paying for that furniture or whatever that you got, trust me, it don't equal up to the price it should. If you get a TV from one of the rental places for $1,000, you're going to pay $3,000 and change. And that's just how they make their money. Rich stay rich, poor get poor. That's why it's so hard for people to get ahead. Now I'm just going to go back to the top for a couple of minutes and just go over the different topics that I'm talking about today, which was 1, food stamps. People have to do better. They have to start thinking ahead. You have to start buying things in bulk, adding up your things, see which comes out better. Be able to store stuff in your basement, things that matter, where your kids could have something and never have to depend on if anything ever happened. At least you can have a little something. Okay, so food stamps mean a lot and they can help a lot of people. And it just can help you do better. Now that's one way. But when they get abused, it's really hard for people to get ahead. Now that's food. Next, a car. When a car dealer is overcharging you and he don't care who or how or if that car, how long it'll last. He'll have a story for you when you come back, believe me. And he will be sticking to it. Because you signed a slave contract. Okay? Which is a slave contract mean you can't win either way it go. But you signed it. The next was the scratch-offs and lottery. People hoping and praying that they win, hoping that one day everything could be okay. And it doesn't happen that way. It doesn't happen that way. You play lottery every day. Every day. Some people play in the daytime, evening, and nighttime. And then they play scratch-offs in the meantime and in between time. How many people win? You know, every 1 out of 100, every 1 out of 50, depending on what type of money you're talking about. But they always give poor people a little money just to keep us believing, right? And when you believe, that means you don't know. Because if you know, you wouldn't have to believe. You'll just know this is what it is. But that's hope for people who don't have none and always get the short end of the stick. So that's just a few things, the things that keep us down, a lot of people. And like I said, why it's so hard for people to get ahead. Also, fathers in these poor areas, and poor is a state of mind, like I said. So I don't want anybody to get it confused with city or suburb, because that's nor here nor there. But fathers have to be a big part in your kid's life. You have to know what's going on. You can't allow them to continue to live generation after generation with the same type of mentality, or all of a sudden they're very angry children because they don't have people to talk to. They don't know whether they right or wrong. They grow themselves up, so they learn as they go ahead. They don't have nobody to tell them if they're right or wrong. So it's hard for a lot of people. And a lot of children grow up and have to take care of their parents. In the poorest state, they have to take care of their parents because there's no other way. And they don't want to see their parents live like that no more. So they want to make sure that they help them and they do everything that they can do. Sometimes that may lead them in jail. Sometimes people get killed. Because a lot of people have got killed. A lot of people are in jail right now for trying to help their family. Because this is a mental cycle of poverty. And these are the main things that go on when you're doing something like that and like this. And it's just very important for everybody, because rabbits touch you or somebody you know is very important. Like, try to pass it on. Try to get them. See, people know that it's hard. So that's the reason why they're able to sit down and come up with these little master plans with these little cars that look halfway decent. But if the government would step up and be able to say, hey, if this car costs $100,000, you can't pay no more than this. You can't charge a person no more than this in interest. Because what are you doing? That's just robbing somebody. That shouldn't even be legal. Because you're getting more in interest than what the car is worth. Stop. That's ridiculous. That's too hard for people. And it's such a slick little technique that it needs to be stopped. Because you have these car dealers walking around like they rich. Yeah, you're rich because you're robbing everybody who poor. And a poor person don't usually have a lawyer or certain things like that. They're trying to make sure that they go to work every day to maintain this life that we've been given. Which is hard for people. Way, way hard. Then you have these landlords who they getting over. They have these houses that's not worth anything. And they're renting them out to people at a welfare rate. And the house is garbage. And nobody does anything about it. That's why when you drive through some of the neighborhoods in the city, it's not, all the time it's not the tenants, you know. It's the people who own the property. They are the ones. Because they are the ones living in the suburb, renting out raggedy houses that they would never even want to be next door to them. And they collecting that money faithfully, and they knocking on those tenants' door, and they making sure they get their money every month. And if they don't, they will be put out. But all of those landlords need to be showed up too, and show exactly who they are and where they live and what they're getting paid for. They're all getting money from the poor. Car dealers, landlords, the government, everything. Everybody prosper off the poor. Everybody. So, you know, the people in those categories that have something to do with, you know, life and how everything is done. But that's how it goes. So just to give you a little, you know, that's why I wanted to bring this topic up. Why it's hard for people to get ahead. Now, we all know the answers to every subject that I just named. But, excuse me, is if you're in that position, what do you do? A lot of people, they have to go with the flow. They can't do it no other way. They have to go with the flow in order to make it. And maybe they could pay that car off what they charged them 24%. Maybe they can pay that off in a year. And only have a certain amount of interest that they, you know, have to pay. And all of that can be over with. But if you can't, and you're trying to live this American dream and pay your payments out, people give you things like that to make you feel like you're important. You're not important to them. They don't care nothing about you. If they cared about you, they wouldn't be robbing you like they are over a hot little car. So I know it's hard for people to be able to make those quotas into what they should do and what they shouldn't do. And I know it's hard because I've been in the same predicament before. Just trying to get ahead, just trying to have a decent car, trying to make a decent living for me and my children. At the same time, I'm getting robbed and paying more than a person who only got 7%, 5%, 3% interest rate. Like, why would you want to charge somebody that much when the car isn't as good? And then they want to blame it on credit. That's where all credit come into play. Because what credit going to do after you get done signing this slave contract, your credit going to be so jacked up and messed up that you could forget about going somewhere and getting a decent car. So, just a little word to the wise for people to really think about it, because it's very crucial and it means something to everybody. It affects everybody. So, Make sure you're getting rich in the right way, and make sure you're not affecting people, because it's like a domino effect and everybody gets affected. So, thank you, and that'll be it.